Daniel Markham. I wrote the domain model for domain modeling. And what we got cooking this week? I have been watching technology slash politics stories appear in my feed more and more frequently for the last 5 to 10 years. It started off every now and then. Then there was the big NSA thing with Snowden. There's this whole Facebook, the elections. And now it seems like almost every day there's a programming related politics controversy, right or wrong. It's quite annoying, to be honest with you. And it's annoying for a lot of reasons. I think I started off, and I still feel that politics probably has no role at all when you're talking about sort of becoming a better technologist, programming better, deploying better. But dang, if we don't keep building crap, people turn into really bad things. Peter Thiel said a few months back that we're basically building a new Manhattan Project. We're building new atom bombs, but yet nobody wants to admit it. It's like everybody's working on byte ordering and CPU caching pipelines, and nobody wants to say, gee, maybe we shouldn't instrument up people as if they were lab rats. That's somehow a bad thing. So while I'm completely against sort of banging over one another over the head over what the current story is or who the political parties are, I don't care. It's not part of my job. I don't want to go there. It's a waste of time. We need to talk about how we decide as professionals what's okay with our work, where we're willing to work, where we're not willing to work, how we're willing to have our code be used, what types of people we're willing to associate with. Would you, for instance, break DRM to get an ebook moved from your, tablet to an ebook reader? I know a lot of people, I probably would if I owned the book. I don't have a problem with that. Would you write software to do that? I don't know. I never thought of that. Would you deploy that software to GitHub? Probably not. What keeps happening over and over again is we get these sort of, where we want to discuss the bubble sort question, which is easy because there's an answer. We can talk all kinds of tech weenie stuff. But what it's really doing is software is eating the world, and we're part of this. We're programmers are part of the software eating the world process, whether we want to be or not. Okay. I look at the 737 MAX problem. I look at the space shuttle, the terrible disaster where an engineer knew something was wrong. I'm running more and more into situations where people who are building things should at least know what sorts of ethical obligations they might have. We're not plumbers. This is not an ethics-free zone. So that's what's been bugging me this week. I wrote an essay. I'm going to work on it a little bit today. Asimov had his 3 rules of robotics, which are really cool. And they're really cool because they sound like they describe something, and they actually describe jack shit. They just sound good. And so there were another, like 500 books after that talked about all the little edge cases and how we didn't really understand this. And at the end of the day, it was just 3 rules that kind of sounded good. The problem with ethics and morality and politics, it's really easy to say something that sounds good and has no traction, and I don't want to do that. I also want to sort of disambiguate the difference between morality, politics, and sort of public policy, right? Morality is my relationship with my authenticity, my higher power, the great pumpkin. I believe fishing in the rain is a horrible, horrible thing. I believe it's immoral. I refuse to fish in the rain. I have a lot of strong moral feelings about various things. Guess what? A lot of people do immoral things in society, and we can have a society because each of us allows people to do things that we find abhorrent, but we have to give and take so that our society can continue. That's morality. Don't want to discuss morality because each of us has our own. But then there's ethics, and ethics is sort of as a group, how are we prepared to hold each other accountable? And that, I think somebody asked sort of the formal question, well, do we have an association? There's a licensing. I think ACM has some stuff out. That's all wonderful. But the real question is, kind of how we sort out the things we would expect other programmers to do and say. And we can voluntarily sort that out. We can commit to one set of ethics or another. There doesn't have to be a universal set of right and wrongs. When you talk to attorneys, there are a lot of professions that take ethics courses, right? And they talk about, should use a blind trust for a minor. Should you represent yourself? What's the proper attire for an appellate court? There are a lot of meta issues that attorneys talk about that have nothing at all to do with whatever their current case is. We as programmers, as good as we are at talking about details of things, should be able to generalize out and talk about the types of things that we find comfortable or not. And even if we disagree, we can at least sort of categorize those types of things. Like, for instance, writing code that hurts somebody, right? Is there a difference between writing code that might hurt somebody and writing code that you know will hurt somebody? Yeah, I would think so, right? Is there a difference between writing code that tells somebody something they don't want to hear and writing code that lies to somebody? The old button on the elevator thing. You push the button, nothing happens, but it makes you feel better. I would think so too. As a matter of fact, to me, that's as bad or worse than hurting somebody, because once you allow computers to lie to people, then the humans have no ability to figure out kind of what the truth is from the lie, and that's become sort of an epistemological problem. A lot of questions like that. We can start categorizing these discussions, even if we can't agree on them, and they're important to our professional careers. They're important to the rest of everybody else, because you know what's going to happen? What's going to happen is they're going to create laws and professional associations, whether they want to or not, and we're going to be stuck with whatever somebody else comes up with. So we should come up with ideas on our own here right now. And so I think it's possible to talk about standards professionalism in a way that doesn't talk about current events, that we separate out what we find moral or not versus how we expect other professionals to act, and in a way that doesn't get into a public policy debate or what kind of laws we would want or not. I think we can do that. That's possible. Other professions do it. I don't know why we couldn't. So that's the topic this week. If you have time, come by. I'm working an essay right now. It's Sunday. I'm not promising I have any answers, but dang, we can at least put some stuff on paper and try to figure out where we're wrong. I'm Daniel Markham. I will see you on the internet.